12 paradoxes to completely change the trajectory of your kid's life in terms of their ability to engage in decision making, to say no to distractions, to become more confident, to become more motivated, to achieve their goals in school, in sports, in extracurricular activities, even in their career. If you want to help your kid has a better life, truly unleash their potential, I highly encourage you to pay attention to those 12 paradoxes, because all of the 12 paradoxes are what I share with my coaching clients, aka college students, high schoolers, and recent college graduates. They work like a miracle. If you are interested in learning more about the 12 paradoxes and how you can apply each of them to help your kid have more confidence, more motivation, more success, please keep on watching. Hello again, welcome to another training on my channel. Before we dive into the 12 paradoxes, I want to take a minute to share with you who I am so that I can give you the context. You can decide, do you want to trust me? Do you want to listen to me? In this day and age, just like what I share with my students, it is always very important to exercise critical thinking. So I want to give you that information so that you can make the decision. So my name is Dr. AI, that is really my name. I spent 20 plus years in education. So pretty much my entire professional career is devoted to education. Got my master from Syracuse. I got my PhD from the University of Maryland, both of which are based in the United States. So over the last 20 years, I had the great honor to serve hundreds of young people, helping them get into their ideal schools, helping them achieve the goals they want to pursue, helping them become more confident, more motivated, more successful in life. And so I used to be a college professor. I got lots of awards. So award-winning former college professor. So here are some pictures of me and my students. And here are two different shout outs from two different undergraduate students. Best Teacher Award, amazing teacher, really thankful. Those are Instagram or Snapchat stories that my students tagged me on social media, and graduation pictures. I took my students to lots of national events and activities. We have guest speakers, shout out on Twitter, and thank you card from my students. And the sweetest memory that I had as a college professor was like summarized in all the pictures here. So that day I was about to walk into the classroom to teach a class, and I opened the door. I heard congratulations. I was like, for me? And then it turned out my students, a group of them, most of them are here, they organized a surprise baby shower for me. Like, come on, can I just pause here for a second? How many undergraduate students actually organize baby showers for their professors? So that tells you the close connection between my students and me, how much they appreciate my teaching, my coaching, my advising, and how much I really love and care about my students. And so they spend so much money out of their own pocket. They give me gifts that I still have today. And so baby shower gifts, and they make my favorite food. How did they figure that out? Incredible. And so what you saw the picture here, this is my oldest son. At the time, he was only 3. Now he's already 2 or 3. I don't even remember. Now he's already 14. So this was a while ago. And that's why I do what I do. I really love helping those young people. And great honor to receive Advisor of the Year award. That was me among hundreds of professors at my university. So this is a gift that my students give to me. And so I actually still have this on my shelf. I'll show it to you. Can you see it? So here. And so the student said that a truly great mentor is very hard to find, difficult to pass with, and impossible to forget. Thank you for inspiring me. So warms my heart. So I have inspired hundreds of young people just like her to pursue their dreams, becomes the best version of who they are. And lots of academic publications and academic awards at different top tier academic conferences. So about a few years ago, I closed that chapter. I decided to stand on bigger stage, helping more people have more a global impact beyond my immediate university and academia. And so I closed that college professor chapter and I started my own coaching company, which is what you see here. And so here's me. And this is, so every time a student joins my coaching program, I actually give every student a package. So in that package, it has my mug, classroom without walls, and they will also have a copy of the planner, which I call the Disruptors Planner. And those are my three boys. So he was the baby in that picture here. As you can see, he has grown quite a bit. So he was that baby here. And so over the last several years, as I serve students and my work has become recognized in a number of major national and even global media publications, such as Forbes. So they interview me, that's me. And I was interviewed by Inside Higher Education, that was me. And so I have also been collaborating with a number of big, well-known brands over the last several years. One of them is Adobe. Been collaborating with Adobe for quite a few years. So this is actually me in Adobe at their headquarters in Japan, Tokyo. And I actually give a talk. This is actually in Japan, which is so sweet. And so during the pandemic year, they reached out to me and I actually did their opening keynote to hundreds of educators from all over the globe. It was such a great honor. So me sharing a part of my curriculum at different Adobe headquarters. This one is in New York City, in different locations, sharing with incredible educators from all over the United States, online collaborations with Adobe, talking about jobs of the future. So in my coaching program, I also work with recent college graduates to really give them that clarity and learn how to do digital networking on LinkedIn, skills they need to improve and develop. And a few years ago, I actually did a TEDx talk, which is actually featured on the main TED platform, as you can see from here. So in this talk, I discussed the missing links in education, such as self-discovery, emotional regulation, pretty much what school doesn't discuss. I talk about them in my coaching program because I think in order to help your kid achieve success, book smart is very important, street smart, emotional regulation, EQ, all of those are very important, but young people, they do not learn about those things through the traditional school curriculum. And even for me, after my PhD, I was not ready to handle real life challenges. I didn't know how to handle any of them. I was like, okay, so I created my own coaching program for someone like me and who spent years in school, but didn't really learn the real things that I needed in order to achieve real life success. So I become that coach. Yeah, I also collaborate with LinkedIn, and I'm recognized thought leader on the platform. This was a few years ago. We did an in-person event at their New York City office. And so here was some online collaborations with LinkedIn. They actually give me a big shout out. That's me for sharing really powerful knowledge. And this is a swag box from LinkedIn. And I have also become a paid global keynote speaker. And this is actually me also contributing to some training content for HubSpot social media certification. And I became a paid speaker, keynote speaker, traveled to quite a few different countries. And so most of what I share is about how do we close the gap between what is happening in the classroom and what is actually happening in real life. So in other words, what does your kid need to learn and develop so that they can achieve success? What's the point of only going to school if they cannot really achieve the success that they want to achieve? And so I also do lots of collaborations with the school. So the most recent one is me here giving a talk at an elite private school in the DC area. A few years ago, I received a Distinguished Alumni Award from my undergraduate, University of Colorado at Denver. This was 3 decades ago. Oh my gosh. So last year in October, this was a few months ago, I had the great honor to receive another Alumni Award from the University of Maryland, where I got my PhD. So that's me here holding my award. What's really special about this is that I was able to bring my own children and my husband. So it was really, really nice. Yeah. So now you know a little bit about me, and I hope this gives you enough context to decide, do you want to listen to me? I hope the answer is yes. If you want to keep watching, and let's go to the training content. Here is a quick overview of the training for today. We're going to cover 2 major sections. The very first one is that you are going to learn the 12 paradoxes that I mentioned. So I divided the 12 paradoxes into 4 different categories, including emotional regulation and resilience, confidence, motivation, and performance, life design, and decision-making. The last one is personal growth and development. So why those 4 categories? Because those are the area that I coach my students on. I know that those 12 paradoxes that you are going to learn, they work for every single category. So you can rest assured that on my channel that I only teach you things that I know actually works, things that I know how to implement. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here and teach you. Okay. And that is the 4 first section. The second section is that I want to encourage you to download a copy of my implementation guide, because I know for a fact, after working with hundreds of young people in education, information does not lead to transformation. You should definitely watch out this video here or here, in which I teach you what do you need to do beyond the information level. And so with every video that I don't want you to learn some information from me, but do not implement. That's why I spend lots of time creating an implementation guide for every single video. So please make sure that you download the implementation guide, which is completely free, that literally walks you through the entire process in every training video, that you can help your kid has an immediate transformation right now and right away. Okay, so I'm going to give you one quick example of one of the so far created 4 or 5 implementation guides, so actually you know what it is about. So let's take a look. This is an implementation guide I call the annual review, and this is what I use for myself, with my own biological children, and with my students. You can use this for the whole year, but you can also use this for every quarter, which is what I do with my students. We do quarterly, we do daily, we do weekly, we do monthly, and we definitely do yearly. This is a very comprehensive and elaborate 4C process. And definitely download a copy of this, which is completely free. Let's look at the very first category, which is emotional regulation and resilience. This is such an important topic. And I'm going to share with you 3 paradoxes. The very first one is the fear paradox. So what is the fear paradox? So many young people, they think if they are really afraid of something, the best way to overcome that fear is to avoid that fear. But here's what most young people do not realize. Avoidance only makes the fear grow bigger. And the best way to overcome the fear is actually taking action. Taking action feels so uncomfortable, but taking action definitely shrinks the fear. So what young people need to understand is that instead of seeing fear as a sign of, oh my gosh, I'm such a weak person, but they need to normalize the fear and use fear and reframe fear as a positive signal. Wow, I am stepping outside my comfort zone. Wow, I'm actually trying something new. Hello, fear. Thank you for telling me I'm trying something new. So this is the fear paradox. The more you try to avoid it, the bigger the fear grows, and the more that you take action on the fear, and the more the fear shrinks. And so here, and this is something I use with my students all the time. You can see many people, they become so comfortable staying inside their comfort zone, and therefore they do not grow. The growth circle, it is the outside circle. So in order to travel from the inner circle to the outer circle, a young person or anyone must go through fear. So as soon as you step outside your fears, your comfort zone, the very immediate circle is a fear circle, right? You have that feeling, oh, I don't think I can do this. Oh, I'm so afraid. And I will share this with you. I have worked with and learned from and networked and socialized with hundreds of people who are very successful. And every single one of them, they still have the fear every time when they try something new. So nowadays, I really see fear as a positive signal that, hey, listen, I'm really trying something new. That is the conversation I have with myself. In fact, how I make decisions nowadays, I will only say yes to a decision if the decision makes me feel excited and also gives me that fear, because I know this decision is stretching me, is challenging me, is going to help me grow. If the decision every single time I don't have that fear feeling, I don't even say yes anymore, because I know those decisions are simply repeating what I know how to do. So there's very little room for growth. And unfortunately, lots of young people, as soon as they have fear, they go back to the comfort zone. Therefore, they never even enter the learning zone. Therefore, they never grow. As a result, fear, they stays as fear and they grow over time. That is how a young person really starts to nurture their fear and nurture their self-doubt. Yeah, so this is actually shared with me by one of my students. And she was like, Dr. I saw this really good. And I said, yes, I agree. The magic is in the work that your kid is avoiding. AKA, the magic is in the fear zone. And the only way to overcome that fear is not avoidance, is facing the fear and taking action. That is a fear paradox. So the second paradox in the emotion regulation and resilience category is the failure paradox. This is so hard. Let me close this. So this is so hard for lots of young people to really accept. So what's the fear paradox? So what you see from the picture here, you really have to fail in order to succeed. What? So lots of young people feel like you really succeed your way into even more success. That is definitely not the case, even though school conditions us to believe that if you are an A student, you are going to continue to be an A student. However, I have coached hundreds of smart straight A students. And what I've learned is that because so many of those students, they start to play safe, they start to play small because they don't want to lose the perfect student identity. So that is not, so having the perfect grades is not a reflection of their true potential. Many of them, they're actually shrinking their potential. They don't want to fail so that they can maintain their perfect grade. Okay. So it is like a different topic here. And you will discover many people, the super successful people, they fail their way into success. So failure is the failure paradox. You really have to fail in order to succeed. The more you fail, the more likely you are going to have bigger success. So here's the problem. If you are thinking, hey, Dr. this sounds great, but listen, my kid is failing. But my kid is not having the success. What's going on? So let me interpret this for you. This is such a common pattern that I observe in the hundreds of young people that I have worked with. So this is what happened. Every time when a young person, a high schooler or a college student, whatever, or recent college graduate, they fail at something, right? They were trying to get into their dream school. They were trying to get into a very competitive summer camp application, this and that, or competition. I work with lots of athletes. Let's say that they have a failure. They didn't really reach their goal. So what happens is that many young people, as soon as they fail, and they get so emotional, meaning that they create a story such as, I'm such a loser, I'm so hopeless, I'm so useless, I'm not cut out for this. So therefore, when they create such a negative story, they stay in that emotional state. Emotions typically cloud judgment. So the longer you stay in that emotional state, the harder it is for your kid to actually understand the lesson. So mistakes, failures, they show up not to punish us. They are signals asking, hey, you really need to pay attention to this area. You have either a skill set gap or a mindset gap that you need to do something about it. But most young people, they get so emotional. I failed. And then they didn't get into the lesson. Therefore, if you feel like, oh my God, my kid is failing, but my kid is now succeeding, this is likely why. So a big part in my coaching program is really help my students get out of that emotional state as fast as possible. And I really help them tease out important lessons that actually come with the life important lesson that come with the failures, the challenge, the mistake. And if your kid can really avoid being overly emotional, I will say this, failure is indeed the best teacher. So this was last year. I watched this interview between the CEO of LinkedIn and this really successful entrepreneur from India who is actually a high school dropout. So in this super powerful interview, this guy, he said that I don't think success teaches much. So in this particular interview, he mentioned that every major life lesson he has learned through a major mistake or failure in life. So can you imagine for lots of young people, and they get so emotional, they don't get to the lesson. Therefore, they actually wasted their struggle. They wasted their mistake. They wasted their suffering. So not good. Okay. So the takeaway for you is that help your kid, if you know how, or find someone like me to help them quickly get out of that emotional reactive state and to tease out the lessons. And the same thing here, one of my favorite books by Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way, right? So what is the obstacle, the challenge, the struggle, the failure, the challenge, all of them are what a young person, all of us need in order to grow, in order to achieve success. We do not succeed our way into more success. We really fail our way forward. So that is the failure paradox. And the last paradox in the emotion regulation resilience category, this is really my favorite. It is called the anti-fragility paradox. So I got this concept from one of my favorite books by Nassim Taleb. This book is called Anti-Fragile. So in this book, he mentioned something really, really powerful, which is this concept called anti-fragility. So he said in the book, some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors, and love, adventure, risk, and uncertainty. So in the book, he made a compelling argument. Some things include human being, include children. So in other words, our children, they are actually by nature anti-fragile. They are not a piece of, like here, I have the visual here. They are not that glass. They are not a piece of glass, meaning that if you drop the glass, your kid is going to be shattered into pieces. No, that is not the case. Your kid is actually anti-fragile. They benefit from stressors, just like Nassim mentioned here. They actually thrive, they grow when there is volatility, when there is risk, when there is uncertainty. And just recently, I read this article on the Atlantic. And so here, the title of the article, exactly what we're talking about here, let your kids fail. This is a common, can I say, mistake or pattern or struggle that I see in lots of parents, because we love our children so much that we want to get rid of all the stressors, all the pressure, all the challenges from our children's lives. But guess what? Every time when you do that, you guys, the parent, you end up being the person developing the skills, building your emotional regulation, building your resilience, not your kid. So stop stealing those incredible opportunities for your kid to build their resilience muscle. As much as we love them, we really have to let them fail so that they can build their resilience muscle. And also rest assured, knowing that your kid will be okay because they are anti-fragile. Just like, I don't know if you work out, but we all know this. In order for us to build muscle, we need resistance training. So the resistance training is like the challenge, the struggle, the mistake in your children's life. If you get rid of the resistance training, there's no way that you can build muscle. If every day I'm only lifting my phone, I'm not going to build muscle. There's no resistance at all, right? Yeah, so don't be afraid. Let your kid fail. Remember, they are anti-fragile. And so I can already explain this. And also in this book, Anti-Fragile, and Nassim made a really powerful distinction between resilience and anti-fragile. So when you think about resilience, it is like a rubber band. So you stretch the rubber band. As soon as you release the rubber band returns to the original state. So that is resilience. You go back to the original state, but anti-fragile, it is another level. You do not return to the original state. You actually become better. Again, the best illustration is muscle building. So the more resistance training you do, your muscle actually grows bigger. Your muscle doesn't stay exactly the same as before. It actually grows bigger, and that is anti-fragile. So as a result of the stressors, the pressure that your kid is having in their lives, they actually become better, they become stronger, just like muscle is becoming bigger. So that is the anti-fragile paradox. Your kid will actually need stressors, pressure in order to grow. So let's not protect our children so much that we are literally removing all the stressors, challenges from our children's life. So they will never become resilient. Okay. So those are the three paradoxes in the emotional regulation and resilience category: the fear paradox, the failure paradox, and the anti-fragility paradox. Now I'm going to share with you the second category, which is performance, confidence, motivation. This again is a core pillar inside my coaching program. I will again share with you three paradoxes. The very first one is the confidence paradox. Oh, I have so much to say about the confidence paradox. Okay, so what is the paradox? The paradox is that many young people, they wait for confidence to come before they take action. Why don't you speak up in class? I don't feel confident. Why don't you volunteer to run for a leadership position? I don't have enough confidence. So they wait for confidence to come and then they take action. But that is wrong. So confidence happens as a byproduct, as a result of taking action. If your kid is constantly waiting for confidence to come in order to take action, your kid will never be able to build their confidence, because confidence is not a prerequisite. Confidence is a byproduct. So what I say here is that confidence is evidence-based, meaning that your kid takes some action, and then action actually leads to competence, and competence leads to confidence. Imagine my oldest son is a fencer. I am a pretty confident person. If you tell me, hey, Dr. I, there is a fencing competition tomorrow, I want you to compete on behalf of your son, will I have confidence? Absolutely not. But it doesn't mean I'm not a confident person. I'm a confident person in my area. When a young person comes to me to help them with confidence, motivation, procrastination, digital screen addiction, I have 100% confidence that I can help every single kid. But in terms of sports, fencing, soccer, I don't know. Even though I'm a confident person, because I have no competence in this particular area to build up my confidence. I see this as such a common mistake. Many parents, again, I'm not criticizing anyone here. Being a mom, being a dad, being a grandparent, being a parent is really the hardest job. And so many parents, they are hoping that their kid will become confident in an area that their kid has little competence. It is not going to happen. So what I really do here is really help this young person in my coaching to overcome that fear and encourage them to take action with coaching support. We map out a game plan, identify potential threats, we create a game plan. So I coach them to take action, which leads to competence and eventually leads to confidence. So stop waiting for confidence to come. The confidence is not going to come. The more you wait, guess what? Confidence is not going to grow. Self-doubt will continue to grow. Here's the thing I want you to remember. You do not act because you have so much confidence. You become confident as a result of taking action. That is the very first one. The second one is the motivation paradox, which is very similar to the confidence paradox. Again, this is such a common pattern. So what is the confidence? What is the motivation paradox? The motivation paradox is I wait for motivation to come, and therefore I take action. If motivation doesn't come, I don't take action. You should definitely check out this video here or here. I share with you my entire 4C motivation reset framework. I did a case study. I shared with you how I literally help a high schooler in my coaching program reclaim her motivation in under 16 minutes, under 1 hour. So definitely check it out. So the mistake that high schooler made was that she was waiting for motivation to come. And when motivation didn't come, she didn't take the action that she was supposed to take. Therefore, athletic training was affected. Academic performance was affected, and she was stressed out as a result. So motivation is not a prerequisite for action. Motivation happens after you take action. It's a byproduct. It's like confidence. Motivation does not create action. And I mentioned this so many times. The mistake I made last year with my YouTube channel was that I was waiting for motivation to come. Then I will start record a video. The problem with motivation is that it is here sometimes, but most of the time it is not there. Therefore, my YouTube content last year was highly inconsistent. In fact, I stopped creating content after August, after we had a major move in our family. So I just kind of completely lost my motivation. So that was the problem. Action leads to motivation. Motivation does not always give you or your kid action. And so, yeah, so as I mentioned here, like most kids, they really pursue motivation backward. And pay attention. If you are hearing the same language or observing the same pattern in your kid, like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. This is something I hear from my students all the time. Dr. I don't feel like it. When they say they don't feel like it, it's that feeling of motivation. I don't feel motivated to do this. And when you think about it, this way of thinking is really flawed, because most of your kids do not need motivation in order to play video games, in order to be on social media. Why? Because they really enjoy those activities. But for the things they don't want to do, they need motivation. But here's the thing. If they don't want to do this, that feeling of motivation is very unlikely to come. So they are waiting for something that is so unlikely to come in order to make a decision. No wonder so many capable, smart high schoolers and college students are absolutely stuck. So here's what you need to remember. You do not act because you are motivated. You become motivated because you actually take action. That is the motivation paradox. And the last paradox in the performance, confidence, motivation category is this effortless paradox. So what is the effortless paradox? So what this means is that when something looks so effortless from the outside, it doesn't mean this is so easy for the person. It is actually because this person has invested so much time, energy, and effort in order to make something look so effortless. So effortless, this result of making something look so effortless is not the absence of effort. It's actually a byproduct. It's the result of consistent effort over a long period of time. Okay. And so this is what I observe in lots of young people. And they observe a classmate. Oh, it looks so easy for this person. Oh, I'm now cut out for this. This is so hard for me. Look at how Jason, how Alice, they can do this with their eyes closed. No. The reason that this activity looks so effortless to this particular person is because this person has invested so much effort. Okay, so that is the effortless paradox. So in this book, Talent is Overrated talks about this. And so many young people feel like, I'm just not smart. Has nothing to do with how smart you are. It is really about how much effort you are investing into an activity so that you can become really good at this, so that this activity will become so effortless to you in order to achieve your goal. Okay, so quick recap. So in the performance, confidence, and motivation category, we discussed 3 paradoxes: the confidence paradox, the motivation paradox, and the effortless paradox. We're halfway through. Let's keep going. So the third category is life design and decision making. And again, you are going to learn 3 paradoxes. The very first one is the choice paradox. Oh my gosh, I feel like I have so much to say about every single one, because this is literally the coaching conversation I have with my students on a daily basis. So what is the choice paradoxes? The paradox. So the choice paradox is that hard choices lead to an easier life. So you can see from the picture here, the image here, the left column. Hard now, easier later. On the other hand, easier choices typically lead to a harder life, like the right column here. Hey, why don't I have some snack? Why don't I spend an hour on social media as opposed to do the physical training, as opposed to do my homework, as opposed to work on my LinkedIn, as opposed to do some networking? So they are making easier choices now. In return, they are going to have a hard life. So the paradox: hard choices now, easier life. Easier choices now will not give your kid an easier life, but will give your kid a harder life. Again, this is where I think coaching support can be so powerful, because a young person, their long-term thinking is not fully developed until they are 25 years old. Some research even says until a young person is 30 years old. So they are very much in the moment. When your kid is in the moment, they want you. There is a specific part inside our brain that is driving most of the decision making. And that particular part of the brain loves instant gratification. Okay, and this is a muscle that a young person must develop. Understand long-term consequences of their easier choices now. If I decide to watch TV right now, I may have to stay up late tonight to do my homework, or I may have a really bad grade, or I may not have a good future. Right? And to really see that, this again, as I said, coaching support, parenting support, to really help a young person understand the long-term consequence. So what I share with young person in my coaching program is this one. It may feel like that you have a choice. You actually do not have a choice. The only choice that you do have is when you are going to have the hard things in life. Are you going to have the hard things in life now, meaning the discipline, the responsibility, the ownership, doing what you are supposed to do? Or are you going to have the hard life later? So you cannot avoid having those hard things. The only thing you have more influence over is having the hard things now versus the hard things later when I'm older. Something I share with the young people in my coaching programs that, hey, listen, if I were your age, I have my parents take care of me. I have school teachers. I have a coach, everybody taking care of me. So I want to have my hard life now because I know everyone is supporting me. It is so much harder to have a hard life when you are older, when you are on your own, when people start to have a different expectation for you because you are an adult. You are no longer under the protection of, I'm a kid, I'm just a student. Okay, so that is the choice paradox. The second paradox is the knowledge paradox. So what is the knowledge paradox? This is one of my favorite ones. And so what this means is that, so here, the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. Learning doesn't always lead to certainty. What learning really gives you is intellectual humility, understanding how much you don't know. So the mistake I see in lots of young people is that they believe that learning only happens inside the classroom. Once school is over, learning is over. This was the biggest mistake I made when I was a college professor. So after I got my PhD, so at that point, I already spent like 20 years oh my gosh, if not longer in school. And so I was really tired of school. And after I got my PhD, I was like, oh my gosh, finally learning is over. And I stopped learning, therefore I stopped growing. Okay. And I want your kid to really understand learning doesn't only happen in the classroom. And oftentimes when school is over, that is when real learning actually starts. Okay. So don't make the same mistake. And the last paradox in the life design and decision making is this one, the shrinking paradox. So what is the shrinking paradox? So the shrinking paradox means that in order for us to grow, we actually have to shrink, meaning in order for us to achieve our big, audacious goals, to have more success, we actually need to shrink. We need to subtract. We need to get rid of distractions. We need to get rid of lesser goals. We need to get rid of things that are no longer, or even commitments, or even people, even relationships that are no longer aligned with our goal. So that is to shrink. In order to grow bigger, you have to shrink first. That is the paradox. Why? Because growth, even success, requires focus and radical imbalance. So if your kid really wants to have success, again, I said earlier, I coach lots of incredible athletes. So in order for them to have incredible success in one particular area, they have to get rid of so many other things. They actually have to shrink their commitment so that they can focus on the things that actually do matter, that does matter, and can expand their impact that way. So choose aligned activities and say no to the rest. Again, this is where I believe coaching is really helpful. Oftentimes, a young person comes to me, they have so many open loops, 5 projects, 8 extracurricular activities. They also do sports. There's so many things going on. So they are trying to do a good job in everything, which I understand. But unfortunately, you are human. Your kid is human. They only have so much time and energy. So if you are trying to be good at everything, you are not going to be good at anything. Okay. Stay focused. Shrink before you grow. So those are the 3 paradoxes in the life design and decision making category. The shrinking paradox, we just discussed, the knowledge paradox, and the choice paradox. The last category is the personal growth and personal development category, which is an area that I'm really passionate about. I spend lots of time, energy, money learning about this, growing me as a person, because I know, and this area is what school does not teach at all. But I know for a fact, my life is a reflection of me. The more I grow, the more my life grows. If I want to change my life, the only thing I need to do is to change me. The more I change, the more my life is transformed. So every year, I always prioritize investing in my personal growth. It is a non-negotiable. So what the growth paradox says is that so many of us, we think that growth is a linear journey, but it is not. It is a very much a bumpy road. And sometimes you feel like, oh, wow, I'm doing so good. And then quickly hit rock bottom. It is almost like a zigzag. And so growth is not linear. And oftentimes, most of the work that leads to incredible growth is actually invisible. And what I see in lots of young people is that they invest in effort into something. Like many young people I coach, they want to start a YouTube channel. They invest effort into this particular thing, but they are not seeing the transformation. Like, and then they create a story like, I'm now cut out for this. But what they do not understand is that when you look at this iceberg model, in order for you to see the visible growth, 80% of the work is actually invisible. Developing the skills, cultivating the habits, and expanding your capacity so that you can have that tip of the iceberg growth. And the best analogy I have for you is this story, the Chinese bamboo tree. So what this Chinese bamboo tree is about is that the first 4 years, so once after you plant a seed for the Chinese bamboo tree, the first 4 years, you see nothing. Very little, teeny tiny visible growth. But by year 5, in only 6 weeks, the bamboo tree grows in 80 feet. That is crazy, right? So when you think about the first several years, invisible and underground, and then by year 5, through the roof. So sometimes I also call this hockey stick, right? So the first few years, like flat. All of a sudden you have a hockey stick. So this is almost like a hockey stick. The problem for lots of young people is that they give up year 3. Oh, this is not working. They give up. So they really need to understand the growth paradox. It's not linear, and most of the work is invisible. The second one is the stress paradox. This is very similar to what we discussed earlier, the anti-fragility. So what this paradox discusses is that too much stress, not good. Too little is not good either. As parents, we love our children so much. We want to get rid of all the stressors. We want to get rid of all the pressure. Just enjoy life, have peace. But what we do not know is the concept we discussed earlier. Humans, they are anti-fragile. They are not a piece of glass. They need stressor, they need pressure in order to perform at their highest level. So the best theory explaining this is this one called Yerkes-Dodson's law. So what you see the bell curve here, I'll make this a bit bigger. The Yerkes-Dodson's law. And so horizontally, it is stress arousal. Vertically, it is in terms of performance. You can see when stress level is really low, how about performance? Also very weak. So at the low end. On the other hand, when the stress level is really, really high, performance is also very, very low. So only in the middle section here, the bell curve, the middle section, that is a moderate level of stress leads to optimal performance. So parents, do not, even though we love our kids so much, I think this is why this is so hard for parents. We want to get rid of all the stressors, all the challenges. We are actually doing our children this service. If you want your kid to become resilient, to become confident, motivated, to do big things in life, to be audacious, ambitious, achieve incredible goals, make a positive contribution to our society, they will need a moderate level of stress. Okay, just the same as the resistance training. No resistance, no muscle. No resistance, no resistance, no resilience in your kid. They will need those things in order to grow and become the best version of who they are. So that is the stress paradox. Your kid will need a level of stress in order to become the best. And the next one is the problem. And this is the last one in the personal growth and development category. So what is this one? This is the problem paradox. So I love this one. So what is the problem paradox? So every time when I do a coaching call, like my student, they will share with me, hey, doctor, I have this problem. Then I will say, hey, let's talk about the problem paradox. The problem paradox means that the problem is rarely the problem. So what's the problem? The problem is our attitude, how we think about the problem, the meaning that we attach to the problem. The same thing, fear. If your kid can look at fear as a positive sign that they are stepping outside their comfort zone, they are going to step into that fear. On the other hand, if your kid sees fear as a sign they are flawed, they are not going to embrace the fear. So it's now the fear, just like what you see the image here. This student got an F. On the left, the student like, oh, I'm such a failure. I'm not cut out for school. I'm such a loser. And therefore get stuck. Like this problem actually does become a huge problem. On the other hand, in the second column, the same F, the student sees that, okay, I failed, but this is a powerful piece of feedback. What's the problem? Maybe I didn't even study. Maybe I forgot about the test. Maybe I studied the wrong thing. So this is what I practice with my students in our coaching course. We practice assessment without judgment. We look at every failed situation we practice decision-making based on evidence, not decision-making based on drama, emotion, I'm such a loser, I'm such a failure, but we actually look at evidence-based thinking, and then we create a specific plan to help them achieve their goals. So it is never about the problem, but our attitude about the problem. So I love this quote from Shakespeare, and he said that there's nothing either good or bad, but the thinking makes it so. Right? So the problem is never the problem, it's how you think about the problem. If you think of the problem as a positive sign, you are going to embrace the problem with a sense of even gratitude and growth mindset. If you see the problem as a reflection of something wrong with you or with your kid, then that problem is going to destroy your kid. And the last one is here. I love this from, I forgot who said this. Your attitude determines your altitude. So in my own family, something I share with my children all the time, life, so many things are outside your control that you cannot influence. But there's one thing you can always influence, have 100% control over, and that is your attitude. And the good news about attitude is that your attitude will determine your altitude. So it's never about the problem. I don't know anyone, including the super successful people. I don't know anyone who doesn't have any challenges in their lives. So what separates the average from the super successful is their attitude, how they look at the problem, how they handle the problems. Okay, so here is a quick recap of the three paradoxes in the personal growth and development category. So we discussed the problem paradox, the stress paradox, and the growth paradox. Okay, I hope you benefit from this training. I give you enough examples. So here is my one big idea for you. And I actually took some time. Again, make sure you download the implementation guide. And here is the table. And I color-coded 4 categories: emotional strength, resilience, yellow color, green color, performance, confidence, motivation, purple color, life design and decision making, and blue color, growth and personal development. So each of the 12 paradoxes, the meaning, how to use it, and the frame you do. Okay, so download the implementation guide. And if you are interested in having your kid, high schoolers, college students, recent college graduate work with me one-on-one to help them overcome some of those challenges: procrastination, digital screen addiction, no clarity regarding their goals, or maybe they do have clarity, but they're not taking any action. I can help your kid with all of those problems or challenges and turn every problem challenge into the perfect vehicle for their personal growth and transformation. If you are interested in having your kid work with me one-on-one, in the description box, there is a link for you to book a clarity consultation with me, and spots are really limited. If you are not serious about having your kid work with me, please do not book a call. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. So that link is only for serious parents. So 80% of you do not book a call. If you are serious, book a call with me. So in that consultation, we're going to look at your kid, where they are right now. We're going to identify the specific challenges and where would you like your kid to be in the future. So we're going to look at that gap, and we're going to create a game plan for you to close the gap. If you want to help me, if you want to have me to help your kid implement the game plan, I will tell you more about the coaching program, the investment, everything. If you are not interested, the game plan is yours. Okay, so you really benefit from that consultation. Again, for serious parents only. So thank you so much for another great video. Follow for more and share this video with another parent who can really benefit from this great content. And I genuinely believe my free training is better than many people's paid online courses. So thank you so much. See you in another video.